Okay, so moving forward here, let's talk about Uranus. Uranus is one of the outer planets, of course, and therefore it represents a really profound transpersonal energy. Uranus is very much related to the Prometheus myth, and Richard Tarnas has explored this in his book Prometheus the Awakener, which I really recommend if you're wanting to understand the Uranus archetype better. But briefly here, in a few minutes, let me say a few words about Uranus Prometheus. Has a lot to do with the impulse towards freedom, the impulse towards the new, the impulse towards change. It is the archetype of change and of the unexpected. It is the trickster. It has to do with sudden, unexpected changes, sudden, unexpected disruptions. Saturn is the movement towards the future, where Saturn is the past, Uranus is the future. Uranus is that impulse to break free to new horizons. Uranus is the quantum leap, the sudden, unexpected jump to a whole new universe. Uranus is the moment of liberation of birth. In Stan Grof's model of the perinatal journey, he describes four stages of the birth process. There's the first stage where the fetus is just growing in the mother's womb, floating at one with her. In that first stage of the birth, there's nowhere to go, nothing to do, all your needs are met, you're at peace, assuming it's a good womb and there's not illness or toxicity or stress in the womb. Generally, it's that sense of peace and oneness and surrender, which is the Neptune archetype. The second stage of birth is when the contractions begin, but before the cervix opens, and there's that sense of weight, contraction, stuckness, no movement, that sense of feeling trapped in something that's never going to end. That's the Saturn archetype. And then once the cervix opens and there's more movement possible, this is the Pluto stage of the birth journey, where there's a tremendous energies catalyzed both in the fetus and the mother. The life force of both the fetus and the mother are catalyzed, and that struggle to be born ensues. Pluto has to do with intensity and passion and life force. And so that's the third stage of birth. But then the actual birth itself, the liberation from the birth canal, is Uranus. And when people relive their birth and connect with the fourth perinatal matrix, the Uranus stage of birth, it is always a shock. It's always a surprise. Because in the late stages of the birth process, it feels as though you're being destroyed. That's Pluto again. There's a sense of apocalyptic destruction, and really you are dying. You're dying as an aquatic creature, surviving in symbiotic union with the mother. You're floating, and there's no air coming into the lungs. All the nutrients are coming through the umbilical cord, and then as you are actually born and move out of the mother's body, it's a dramatic change, Uranus, and there's a sense of new freedom, and a kind of liberation into a whole new universe. That's Uranus. And we know when we are in touch with the Uranus archetype, when we are able to break free of old structures and open to new possibilities, when we're able to be more spontaneous, more playful, more open to surprise. And so a question to ask yourself, or a series of questions to ask yourself about your relationship with Uranus, are questions like, how do I deal with change? Do you enjoy change? Do you welcome change? Do you thrive when the unexpected changes of life come to you? Or do you resist change? Are you armored around change? Are you in fear of change? This will give you some sense of how you relate to Uranus. Uranus is the trickster who is omnipresent, always there, always ready to disrupt our expectations of how things are. Saturn is the box that we live in, the box of our habit patterns and the structures that we've built up over time. And Uranus is the breaking out of the box. And so part of a daily spiritual practice, I think, is learning to break out of our own boxes in each moment And so right now I've been in a certain pattern of doing this recording, and so I might like surprise myself and you by I don't know, I could bring in a musical instrument suddenly and unexpectedly and shake things up a little bit, or I could stand up rather than sit down. I could deliver my message without my face on the screen. I could come in close, or I could move back. Uranus has a lot to do with the choices that we can make in life, where we're not stuck in a predictable pattern of doing the same old, same old. Uranus is our capacity to be more playful in our choices. Now, Uranus is also got a shadow side. It has something to do with our capacity to be rebellious in a problematic sense. Some people are constantly rebelling and constantly feeling like things are boxing them in and limiting them. It's when you're projecting the Saturn outside of yourself, have not become a master of yourself, and are feeling like some outside structures are imposing limitations on you. Of course, that is a real thing that happens in this world, but sometimes we project more out there than is really there, and we feel victims of the Saturnian limits of life, and we might constantly be rebelling against anything that feels like it's trying to limit us. And sometimes that very rebellion is what limits us. We box ourselves into a corner by constantly trying to rebel against the same old, same old. And so, like every archetype, the dosage set and setting is crucial to know what the right amount of the trickster is to bring into each moment. I mean, the trickster is going to be there no matter what. But can you consciously align yourself with the trickster and try to cooperate with the trickster that's trying to come in and surprise you and others? And so I'm always considering the question, or I'm trying to remember to always consider the question, how can I do it differently? How can I bring in something that's more playful, or how can I break free of my habit patterns and expand out into unknown territory? That's bringing in both Jupiter, expansion, and Uranus, the impulse towards the new. Right now in the sky, there's a very strong Uranus alignment, one of the strongest that we've had in a very long time. We have not had this kind of Uranus collective alignment since 1968 and 1969, when there was a Jupiter-Uranus-Pluto triple conjunction. Right now in the sky, here in the summer of 2013, winter in the southern hemisphere, we have this Jupiter-Uranus-Pluto T-square. And so Jupiter expands the impulse towards freedom and revolution and change, and Pluto massively empowers it. So there's not enough time here for me to really go into this extremely powerful collective energy that's dominating our current collective historical moment from the period of about June of 2013 to June, July 2014. But there's incredible potential for all of us. The last time this was in the sky, we landed on the moon. We had huge rock and roll festivals and massive experiments of opening to new possibilities, like the birth of transpersonal psychology and the birth of archetypal psychology, James Hillman's school of psychology, both coming in 68 and 69. We're in another moment like that where there can be a birth to an expansive new psychology on a big picture level, but also intrapsychically for each of us. And so it's important to realize that there's a lot of support for breaking free of the box at this hour in history. And I think we all need to break free of the box and open to exciting new possibilities. And that's what Uranus is all about. All right, I think that's enough for now. Thanks.